Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. About half the work week in the rearview mirror. Maybe you're just getting started on the work week if you had a couple of days off. Either way, getting closer to the weekend here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Got Jacob back and Cassie Pizzali back there on the ones and twos. Koki Riley going to be with us in 15 minutes. LSU wins a wild one last night against North Dakota State, and they'll have another one this evening against the Bison, and then one more non-conference weekend before we get ready for conference play in a week and a half. It's a what-if Wednesday. The Saints have moved on from Jamal Williams. We'll talk to Matthew Bruni at 2 o'clock about LSU basketball as they lose at Rupp Arena by 30 last night. SEC baseball power ranking, so plenty to do here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Lock us in. We start the same way we start every day with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
We're going to start with LSU football. And football? What do you mean? Well, football's kind of back. LSU is on the practice field in 3 days. On Saturday, they will crank up their spring football practices. And so today, I want to talk a little bit about the LSU defense. And then tomorrow, we'll talk a little bit about the LSU offense as we get ready for spring football. And I wrote a piece for LouisianaSports.net that I'll kind of expound upon here in radio and podcast form, and that's 3 players to watch on the defense during spring football this year. And generally speaking, y'all have an understanding of what spring football is, especially when you've got returning coordinators. If you're trying to install an entirely new system, yeah, like these 3-4 weeks of practices, like, they can be heavy on install, and you can really change the identity of a football team over the course of a spring. That's not what we're looking at here. You're not looking at a situation where you're overhauling either side of the ball. You want to improve, but you've got a lot of key players coming back on both sides, and you've got coordinators coming back on both sides. So, to me, it's a little bit of a lighter transition in that way. I've identified 3 guys that I think are going to go through really important springs, and they're really all in different stages of their careers. But it's not something where I think everybody is massively impacted here, like it would be if there was a coordinator change or an identity change on either side of the football. So, who am I looking at here in terms of spring football on the defense? I'll start with DJ Pickett. DJ Pickett is the crown jewel of this signing class. Once Bryce Underwood moved on, he was like the next dude. Had to keep him around. Kept him around. Got the signature. DJ Pickett enrolled early. He was working out with LSU prior to the Texas Bowl practices. So he's been around a little bit now that we're in the middle of March. He's been there since, early March. He's been there since the middle of December. But DJ Pickett needs to put on some weight. He needs to understand the offense, the defense, and he needs to assimilate himself to dealing with college wide receivers, because I believe firmly that he's going to play early and he's going to play often. You look at LSU's defense. In 2023, only Vanderbilt allowed more passing yards per game in the SEC than LSU. Only Vanderbilt. Anytime I say only Vanderbilt's worse in SEC football, you got issues. LSU clearly had issues 2 years ago on defense. You all know that. But last year, you were 12th in the SEC in yards per attempt allowed and 12th in completion percentage allowed. LSU has not had the type of talent in the defensive backfield that they were used to over the course of better than a decade in a little bit. And DJ Pickett brings that kind of talent. Yes, Mansour Delane absolutely factors in here. Yes, Jakeem Jackson absolutely factors in here. Yes, Ashton Stamps absolutely factors in here. PJ Woodland's going to play. But Pickett provides the talent level that is beyond all of those guys. He's 6'4". He's got great instincts and great ball skills. He's the type of talent that we're used to seeing come into LSU, play for 3 years, and jet out of here in the first round. That needs to start sooner rather than later. Your first football game is against Cade Klubnik, who is going to be among the top 5 in just about every Heisman odds you find on the internet. So DJ Pickett needs to get up to speed quickly. It helps that by the time LSU plays Clemson, he's going to have been on campus for 10 months, but this is a crucial part of that 10 months. I think DJ Pickett needs to have a really good spring in terms of developing his body, in terms of understanding his assignment, in terms of adjusting to the physicality of dealing with SEC-level wide receivers. DJ Pickett, my number 1 guy to watch for LSU's defense in the spring. Number 2, Dominic McKinley, another former 5-star. He's got 10 college games under his belt. That's more than Pickett. But you're talking about a guy who came in during fall camp, got hurt, missed the first 3 weeks of the regular season, and I think that put him a little bit behind. Even when Jacoby and Guillory went out, he still wasn't immediately the guy that they plugged in there because he was trying to catch up. In terms of the body, like, he's got it. He's 6'6", he's 315 pounds. Like, he's a big dude. He's got to learn to play with better technique, and he's got to continue to get stronger. The problem with Dominic McKinley right now, and it has nothing to do with Dominic McKinley, is that he doesn't have a position coach. That's an issue. LSU's trying to practice in 3 days. I don't know who's blowing the whistle in front of Dominic McKinley. That's a problem. But when you look at that kind of frame, that kind of talent, that kind of profile, and a little bit of production late in the season, he had 2 sacks against Oklahoma. It wasn't a work of art. He's still got to work much harder on his leverage and playing below people's pads. It's hard to do at 6'6", 315. But that's a guy who theoretically could be a difference maker for LSU. Having Jacoby and Guillory as a resource for him is a big deal. He and Ahmad Bro are very close. Those 2 guys have spent a lot of time together, and I think are going to push each other. And so whoever LSU hires to be the new defensive line coach is going to be pivotal in McKinley's development, but I'm excited for what he could be. You're talking about a rushing defense for LSU that gave up the most rushing touchdowns in the SEC last year, a rushing defense that allowed the most 40-plus yard runs last year. You've got to stop the run way better than LSU did. McKinley could be a big component to that. Big spring for him. Number 1, DJ Pickett. Number 2, Dominic McKinley. Number 3, this is not a young player. This is not a guy who needs a lot of physical development or maturity. Not a guy who is completely unproven, just raw potential. This is a guy who's got a lot of production in his college days. It's Patrick Payton, 5th-year senior edge player from Florida State. Payton comes to LSU with 31 and a half career tackles for loss and 16 career sacks. That essentially is Barkevious Mingo's career at LSU. So you look at him and you go, well, what does that guy need spring football for? He's a 5th-year senior, been productive. Like, these are the kind of guys that you give springs kind of off to. He knows where to be. He knows what to do. He's an edge rusher. He's been an edge rusher for 4 years. All that's true. And it's very much rooted in truth. But I saw what Kevin Peoples did for Braden Swinson and Savion Jones last year. I saw Kevin Peoples translate Braden Swinson from a 5-sack player over 4 years. He had 5 sacks in 4 years. I saw him blossom in an 8.5-sack player in his final college year. If he can make Braden Swinson a feared pass rusher after Swinson had 5 sacks in 4 years, what can he do with a guy that's got 16 career sacks? That remains to be seen, but I'm excited to watch some of it in the spring. Pass rush moves, technique, leverage, hand placement, quickness, all that, whatever it is. I want Kevin Peoples doing it because he made Braden Swinson and Savion Jones much better players than they were previously. And this guy's already better than what those guys have been. So I'm all about Patrick Payton getting to work with Kevin Peoples and developing. That is a 5th-year senior that I do want to see pop in the pads in the spring. Not some sort of unreasonable workload, but this is a new tutor for the pupil. I'm all for it. LSU's defense has to improve. I'm not going to rehash the entire segment back from January, but I can paraphrase. I looked back at statistics, and I think a lot of us looked at LSU's defense this past year and went, well, it took a step forward. Like, okay, that's good. Because you were so bad in 23, go back and look at the stats for 24. It's bad defense. It's a bad defense relative to what we expect LSU to be. And if you expect LSU to be a team that competes at the top of the SEC, that knocks on the door for the playoff, that gets in the playoff, that makes a run in the playoff, that competes for a national championship multiple times every 5 years. And if that's the standard at LSU, they grossly fell short on defense. Statistically, wins and losses, production-wise, all of it. NFL draft will show the same thing. It's not the same as it once was. And to get back to being at the top of the sport, at the top of the conference, you've got to play significantly better defense. And so I've highlighted a true freshman who's got an NFL profile. I highlighted a former 5-star who's entering year 2 at a position where in year 1 you generally don't get a lot. And I've highlighted a 5th-year senior who needs to take one more step to become a dominant edge rusher, potential all-conference type player, potential first, second, third round pick. DJ Pickett at corner, Dominic McKinley at defensive tackle, Patrick Payton at edge. Those 3 guys, to me, are the guys to watch in the spring for LSU. Yes, I'm curious about Ahmad Bro, who I mentioned. Yes, I'm curious about some of the other edge guys they brought in, like Jack Pyburn, like Jamari Butler. Yes, I want to see what Tamarcus Cooley does and where Mansour Delane lines up, and I want to see Ashton Stamps improve, and what is Harold Perkins able to do? What is Jacoby and Guillory able to do? Maybe it's something, maybe it's nothing. There are plenty of other storylines to look at on this defense. These are the 3 that I think are the most important to LSU's 2025 hopes, because all 3 of these guys have monster potential that they have not reached fully. Hopefully this spring is a step in that direction for LSU. That's our opening drive presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge. We'll step aside. Koki Riley covers the LSU baseball team. They won a crazy game against North Dakota State last night. We'll talk about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is that website. Is your business in a captive for insurance? If you are, your answer is pretty quick. If you're not, you might go, well, what is that? If you think your commercial insurance is too expensive and you're curious for some sort of alternative that doesn't involve jacking your deductible through the roof, doesn't involve cutting your limits way down, doesn't involve adding a ton of exclusions, if you just want to find an alternative solution that may be more cost effective to you, the business owner or the CFO or whoever it is, the risk manager in charge of the insurance, a captive program may be your answer. If that hasn't been brought to your attention, the question is why? Jonathan Carbo and his team at the Highland Insurance Group handle captive situations all the time, and they've had a ton of success with it. It's for those businesses that have high insurance premiums, that have quality risk management places in place, and may qualify for a captive program. If you're unfamiliar, give the Highland Insurance Group a call or check them out online, HighlandIG.com. It's the Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What If Wednesday coming up here in 15 minutes. Got a couple of those off Twitter thus far. If you're in the Bayou 4 chat there on YouTube, hit us with some what ifs. If you got my Twitter handle handy, and hit me at Hunt Palmer 88. We'll get to those as well in the next segment. Koki Riley covers the LSU baseball squad for The Advocate. He joins us every Wednesday at 1:15, does so now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Koki, how are you?
Doing well. How's it going?
Going quite well. Certainly want to talk about last night's game, but first let's go back to Frisco where LSU won all 3 games. They had to come from behind. It wasn't always perfect, but they did do enough to win. Were you more encouraged by the fact that they did what it took to win, or a little bit concerned with some of the shortcomings?
If we're just talking about Frisco, I mean, to me, it's probably more about just what they did to win those games, and just especially with the offense and the fact that like this team can actually come back from deficits now and has the juice to pick up the pitching staff if they ever struggle, and they just couldn't do that last year. And if you want to get to Omaha, you need to be able to do those sort of things. And when I said they couldn't do that last year, I mean it was for the most of the year they weren't able to do it. By the very end, it seemed like they kind of could. And you can just tell with like the experience and the approaches at the plate with this team is just much improved from the beginning of last year. And a lot of that has to do with 6 returning starters. A lot of that has to do with adding a guy like Danny Dickinson, having a freshman who's as polished as Derek Coryell. So I think like offensively, this team has shown that it is clearly better than at the start of last season, despite the fact that they kind of disappeared for those 11 innings there against Omaha. And then I guess, like, if you want to talk about concerns, I mean, like, the pitching staff wasn't necessarily amazing, but, I mean, to be honest, like, it's hard to totally judge the bullpen when it hasn't been fully formed yet, when you don't have a guy like Connor Ware in there, you don't have a guy like Gavin Guidry in there. And then with the starters, like, I think Ianson's going to give you length at the very least, even though he might not be throwing 6 shutout innings every single time. And I think you kind of saw that in the Nebraska game, like the 2 halves of what a Ianson start could look like. And then with Shores, the stuff is still there. The command still needs to be there from a consistent standpoint. And one step back for him doesn't necessarily mean like we should be freaking out about him as a starter.
Let me play a little bit of devil's advocate, not to say that I disagree with you, but I'd like to hear kind of more rationale. last year at this point, they had just come back from a 4-0 week in Houston, looked awesome. I remember the lead I wrote for a column. I said, Houston, I don't think they have any problems. And, like, that was how I felt before they got to SEC play, and they face-planted. So what makes you as confident that this team is actually better when the level of competition is not what they're going to see starting in, I guess, 3 weeks after Missouri gets out of here?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And they're just taking better at bats this year offensively. And, like, for example, like in this Texas weekend, they had at least 11 hits in every game. They had 17 in the game against Nebraska. Like, that, they just weren't doing that almost ever last year. And I mean, they would have it in spurts against, non-conference teams in these midweek games. And, like, they had one game where they scored, like, 26 runs or something. But they weren't really doing that against, like, power opponents until the SEC tournament, basically. And the fact that they're doing that right now and they're walking as much as they are, and they're just like, and they're just, playing more fundamental baseball on the offensive side of the ball. Like, I think like that's a very promising sign. And the pitching to me it's so, I mean, I thought this week it looked roughly the same as it did in the Houston weekend. And I think the competition they faced this year was also probably a little tougher than last year, because remember last year the midweek game was Rice. Rice is just not very good. And like Texas was probably around the same level as Kansas State, Nebraska, and DBU, probably closer to Kansas State or DBU than Nebraska. But like UL ended up being a pretty solid team. That was actually kind of relative to what they faced. And Texas State was roughly maybe a little bit better than what Sam Houston is. So I'd say, like, on the whole, they faced tougher competition this year. They clearly hit the ball better, and they pitched well enough to win these games and there's still enough questions with like what, not bad questions, but more questions of just like, what is this going to look like, and how will this look different in SEC play than it does in this past week in Dallas, because I think it's going to look different once we get at the SEC play.
Cade Anderson's starts have kind of looked all the same. He's been awesome for 5 innings, and then it gets a little bit bumpy. Do you think that that's just getting some innings, or is there something more to it?
I think it's definitely something to monitor, and there might be something more to it. I don't think it's a stuff thing. It might be a stamina thing with the stuff, and just like him not being able to maybe not keep up. I think the velocity is more or less stayed consistent, but maybe it's just a command thing combined with, just sort of landing those secondary pitches consistently. So I want to see another weekend and just sort of see what this looks like for him. And like North Alabama, they're 3-8, but they've had some pretty tough competition. So this isn't going to be like a total cakewalk. But yeah, I'm just like really curious to see what this looks like moving forward. But no, I mean, you're right. Like, third time through the order has been an issue for him so far. And against Kansas State, it was leaving too many balls right over the middle of the plate. And against Omaha, it was just the command just got wonky. So it's like two different sort of issues, or two different starts. And maybe we're just looking into the sample size, into a small sample size too much. But it's definitely something to monitor once we get into conference play.
Koki Riley is our guest, covers the LSU baseball team for The Advocate. He's with us on Wednesdays. What did we watch last night for 3+ innings?
Really, really bad baseball. I think I put it in my story that they probably should have put a Surgeon General's warning to LSU fans before the game started, because it was just like it was that hazardous just to watch really bad baseball. A lot of walks, wild pitches, guys getting hit, like all errors, everything you could possibly think of, like a easy pop fly in foul territory that isn't communicated the right way, and it just sort of falls. And the groans that came out of the crowd after that were pretty were not violent, but kind of loud. So it was just really, really ugly baseball. And I mean, you're going to have that occasionally. What I mean by occasionally, maybe like once or twice a year. So unless it happens more often, and once we get into conference play, I'm not like super concerned about it moving forward. They're probably closer to the team that we saw in the Dallas area than we saw last night, obviously. But kind of getting back to my point about the offense, though, like they would have lost that game last year. And they did lose that game last year. It was the Southern.
Yep.
And this year they won that game because the offense is just a lot better, and they take more consistent at bats. They are able to drive the ball a little bit more consistently. Right now they're on a heater when it comes to hitting runners in scoring position, but like whenever or if ever that starts to cool down a little bit, I have confidence that they're going to sort of get back to and score enough runs because they're just really good at getting guys on base. And when you're that good at getting guys on base, you're going to create opportunities for yourself. How often you cash in those opportunities is a whole other conversation. And I think just like given how baseball works, there's going to be ebbs and flows with that. But the fact that they're getting guys on base consistently, which is what they weren't really doing last year, that to me is kind of should be the takeaway from this whole entire last 4 or 5 games.
Jay Johnson gave y'all I got to watch the tape last night straight out of the football coach's playbook. But y'all asked about the catching defense. What have you seen?
I've seen that Luis Hernandez is kind of taking his stake as the catcher on this team. It was pretty telling that they put him into the game in the last few innings last night. And I think Cade gives them more potential offensively, and you saw that with his home run. And I think Luis has really struggled with the plate, and I am a little bit worried about just his offensive output, even though he did have 3 hits against Sam Houston. But yeah, like regardless, though, like it's going to be hard to find who the reliable backup catcher is defensively. Maybe not offensively, but definitely defensively. If Cade is going to struggle like this, but yeah, I don't know. Like he's a freshman. They're going to have time to work with him. Like they don't need him to play every single inning this year, which is probably a good thing for him in his development. Probably what this team needs at the moment. But I when I look at the catching position, I see Luis Hernandez stepping up and playing better defense than I expected him to, given that he only caught 3 games last year. And really, like to me, it's got to the point where, if we're going to talk about positional battles, like third base is probably a bigger positional battle right now than catcher.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. And you've certainly got a couple guys there that one hits right-handed and one hits left-handed. So it may work out of a little bit of a platoon situation depending on matchups there. Today, you got another game with North Dakota State, a team that's ERA is north of 11, and you feel like you're going to score a lot of runs. Just kind of looking at the roster, William Schmidt, Jacob Myers, I think those 2 guys probably factor in, maybe Maverick Rizzi as well. How do they get through the 9 innings today?
Yeah, I think Myers is a good name to mention as someone who hasn't pitched in a minute, and, they need other guys to just sort of like eat innings and bridge things together, especially since they used 2 of their better pitchers yesterday. So, yeah, I think they're going to need Schmidt to go like 5 innings tonight. And if they have a bit of a lead, then they'll probably be fine. But if the game is close or they're behind again, then it could get even hairier because I don't really know. They don't have a ton of options as a bullpen for this game either, because they know Gavin Guidry's status is still a little bit up in the air. How fresh are some of these other guys? Can Maverick Rizzi sort of find his control again, even though it seemed like he was going to be a top reliever for the team. Connor Benj was warming up last night. He didn't pitch.
Yeah.
So I guess if the game got close, they could just throw him. And I think what kind of helps them in these situations is that, like, they have more relievers who can go multiple innings on this team than last year. Not just more relievers, but more relievers that they trust. Like Zach, like they didn't have a Zach Cowan outside of Griffin Herring, obviously. They didn't have a Zach Cowan last year. And now they do. So like that's a pretty good sign for them. And like, not having Gavin Guidry this entire time has kind of hurt them because, it's put more strain on a guy like Case Nevins who has to pitch like 3 times in 7 days or whatever it is. So yeah, like I don't know. We'll see how this all sort of shakes out, but my guess is that Schmidt starts for sure.
I would see it that way as well. Enjoy the baseball tonight, Koki. We'll see you this weekend.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Koki Riley with the Advocate. He's your LSU beat reporter. Does an awesome job there with the newspaper and good enough to give us some time each and every Wednesday. We'll step aside when we come back. It's What If Wednesday on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. I know there are a lot of you out there that may think about getting into the market for a vehicle, but just don't like going to the dealership. Feel like I'm a piece of meat, got people swarming all over the place, feel like I'm being upsold and pressured. I get that. That's a common stereotype in car buying. You're just not going to run into it at Genesis of Baton Rouge. You can go to the lot. You're going to be treated like a guest there, not a customer. And their brand ambassadors are there to help. And if you still don't believe me, okay, just go to the website, GenesisofBatonRouge.com. You never even have to set foot on the lot. You just kind of comb through the gallery, look at the different vehicles in the lines, and you decide what you'd like to test drive. You let them know. One of their brand ambassadors will come to you. Come to the office, come to the house, whatever. They'll get you behind the wheel. You'll see the difference driving a Genesis. Every single new purchase comes with a 100,000-mile warranty, 10-year warranty over at Genesis of Baton Rouge. They're on Airline at Pico, across from Women's Hospital. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge, GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe. My whole team on wild.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111, your law firm for a lifetime.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Still plenty to do here on this Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Hour 2 is loaded. We got Matthew Bruni at 2 o'clock. Tigers got smoked at Rupp last night. We'll talk to Bruni about that. I want to preview the baseball game tonight with North Dakota State, kind of talk about some of the things we saw last night as well. That's at 2:15. My SEC Baseball Power Rankings. LSU last week came in at number 3. We'll see where they come in this week. So lots and lots going on here on this Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We appreciate y'all for hanging out with us. Let's do some What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question. What if?
All right, first one here. I just saw this on the chat, and I think it's interesting. What if Texas A&M doesn't make the tournament and Texas does?
In baseball?
Yes.
That's a disaster for Michael Early, who would be in jeopardy of being fired if that happened. I just don't believe that. I still think A&M's a good team. I think they've got like 6 guys that can really hit, that we know can really hit, and they've got an ace, and they've got a really good home field advantage. Like, I know we've saw Mississippi State fall off a cliff after winning a natty, and Ole Miss fell off a cliff after winning a natty, and LSU had a terrible start last year, and I know A&M didn't win it last year, but I just believe they're going to be better. But if we're just doing the what if they don't make the tournament, with Jace Laviolette going first in the draft, Ryan Prager turning down over $800,000 to go back to Texas A&M, and they miss the tournament altogether, and Jim Schlossnagle takes Texas and does something better than that, like, you're going to have rich people in College Station going, okay, we tried to keep the team together, and we gave this kid a chance to coach. He can't do it. He's out. Like, at least that's what I would do, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think it will either. But that would be very interesting. I mean, so far, we'll see. Obviously, the SEC, once conference play starts is when you're really gonna see who are the real players and who aren't. But moving on here, what if you could pick the gender of the baby?
Like, this is a question that gets asked to like most prospective parents, and I find that most times it's just such a play it coy, just want a healthy baby and all that kind of stuff, which is fine if that's the way you want to like address it and be like kind of PC about it. I think it's perfectly natural for you to want to have a child that is your gender and is in that case more likely to share your interests. Now, my family is probably more aligned than 98% of families. Like, my dad is a diehard sports fan, and I'm a diehard sports fan. We like, going to play golf and eating steak and watching football. My mom and my sister were both teachers who love children and love being moms, and like, our interests are like exactly aligned. And that's not the case for everybody. And there's absolutely nothing that suggests that a daughter can't love going to watch LSU baseball with a son and vice versa. But like, I always wanted a son. I have a son right now, and I think that I want a daughter as well. So if I got to pick the gender of the baby, it would be a daughter. That's not to suggest that I'll be really disappointed if we have another boy, but I don't have a problem answering that question. I would prefer to have a daughter this time around. If you would have asked me the first time around, I would want a son, and now that I have that, like, I've checked like the box, so I would rather the other. Are you willing to answer the question, or are you going to play it coy like 98% of people?
No, I'm willing to answer. I mean, plenty of people have asked us, and I've said I want a boy.
Okay.
And I think that's probably the usual sentiment for most guys. But I mean, I know there's differences, but like I for some reason just have always liked the idea of having a son. I don't know. I mean, I think
that's natural. I think because you're more likely. It doesn't mean anything. There's no surefire anything.
Yeah.
But you're more likely to share interests with someone of the same gender because of the norms of society. That's not to say that you can't switch them. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
But it's just statistically more likely, I would suggest.
Yeah, and I can see how from your perspective you're like, all right, I've got a boy now. I'd like a daughter. So it makes sense.
And Alyssa, I think, wants that too. Alyssa is in for a rude awakening. There was never any like, head out to the ball field growing up for her family that just didn't exist in their family, and that's going to be happening a lot here over the next 15 years. So we'll see if we can throw in some of the things that her family generally did if there's a girl in the mix.
All right, next one here. What if you were asked to ride in a New Orleans parade?
Okay, so like if it's just an invitation to be a part of the crew, meaning you pay your dues and you're part of the crew and you do all the things that are involved in that, which are generally a ball and then a lunch and get your throws and ride on the float, like I would probably decline.
Yeah, me too.
Because to me, the cost benefit there is not like if you told me that I could spend the exact same amount of money to be in a New Orleans Mardi Gras crew and I could take that money and go play Pebble Beach and stay there, I'm flying out and I'm doing that. Like, and like it's to each his own. I know I have a lot of friends who just adore riding in those parades, and I would like to do it for free. But for the amount of money that it costs, like that's not something that I would spend that money on. In the same way that, like I said, I would go to Pebble Beach. I know there were a lot of people that were very unhappy you needed to pay $30 to watch LSU play baseball on the internet this weekend and take the streaming issues out of it completely. Like I would have paid $100 to watch LSU play 3 baseball games this weekend because that's worth it to me to do that. To me, what it costs to ride in one of those parades, probably I'd rather sit on the side and come and go as I please and do that kind of deal than get caught up in all that. So I would like to do it for free. I've never ridden on a float before. My gut tells me I will probably do it at some point, but it's not anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. It's so crazy to me how much money people spend on the Mardi Gras stuff. Like I love Mardi Gras, I love the parades and everything, but the cost of entry for it is pretty crazy when you think about it.
It's just part of the culture for some people, and I'm thrilled they love it because if they didn't love it, I wouldn't have anybody to go watch on the float.
That's true.
I'm glad, and they don't have any problem getting those crews sold out. It's just not right up there on the top of my to-do list. Alyssa's going to do it like soon. She probably would have done it this year if she wasn't pregnant. So,
all right, next one here. We got one from Twitter from Noah. He says, "What if Kevin Gossman came back for his junior year in 2013?"
LSU has a better chance to win the national championship. However, NOLA probably still starts that first game. And even if Gossman starts it, and for those that aren't familiar with the 13 team, that's a team that went 0-2 in Omaha. They lost to UCLA and then North Carolina. LSU didn't score. LSU scored 1 run in that game. So unless you're sure Gossman was going to shut UCLA out, then you're still in the losers bracket, and yeah, you get to bring one of those guys back, but then you got to play another game without him. Like, it would have made LSU a real handful because that 2013 team was awesome. It was Ty Ross and Mason Katz and Jacoby Jones and Alex Bregman, Christian Ibarra and Andrew Stevenson and Mark Laird, and like it was a great team. But you lost because you didn't hit, and Gossman wasn't going to hit for you. So I'd like to sit here and tell you they'd have won it. But they got put in a pretty tough spot there in Omaha, and they didn't swing the bats well enough.
All right, let's see if we got any more in the chat here. I'm not sure. This one says, "What if Scott Woodward swings and misses on LSU men's basketball next year?" I guess they just mean if they put money towards it and it doesn't get better.
It doesn't
maybe
work. Well, I mean, look, I don't. Y'all know my perspective on LSU and coaches on campus. You're not going to hear me come on here and proclaim that someone needs to lose their job. But we all understand the situation that LSU's in. You're in year 3 of a head coach, and he's about to go 3-15 in the league. That's a very, very clear indication of where the program is. Everyone knows that is unacceptable, including the athletic director, including the head men's basketball coach. And it appears he's going to get a chance to fix it. You either fix it or you don't fix it. That's pretty evident. I'm not stepping out of bounds there. I'm not saying anything that anyone would disagree with, from the fan base to the administration to anyone inside the program. Everyone here is aware 3-15, not going to get it. So that's where you are. You got to go figure it out next year.
All right, one more here. What if the Saints never signed Derek Carr?
So you're gonna play with Andy Dalton? Are we
Jameis
gonna keep that going, Jameis? It's about the same. I mean, Carr's been hurt half the time. The whole defense has been shot. They hadn't any playmakers. About the same. Dennis Allen gets fired, and you don't have a quarterback now. You might be in a little bit better position to draft Shedeur Sanders if that does anything for you.
Yeah.
But you still have the same head coach, I think. and you still have the same executive team, and your roster will still be old and over the salary cap. So not too much different, I don't suggest.
Probably not.
All right, let's close it out. Speaking of the Saints, they made a move yesterday that kind of a headline grabber, but we'll see what the actual impact is. We'll do that next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends March 5th, 2025.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you. At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Savor game day platters and snacks, plus drink specials at
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right, closing out our number one here on this Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Matthew Bruni in 10 minutes. The Saints made a move on Tuesday they released running back Jamal Williams, who had 1 year left on his deal. It'll save him just north of $1 million against the salary cap next season. Look, this is a situation where the Saints bought high. Supposed to buy low and sell high. They bought high. They bought Jamal Williams on the heels of an 1,000-yard rushing season that included 17 rushing touchdowns that led the NFL. And the Saints saw that in Detroit, looked at their running back situation, said, we probably need to help Alvin out a little bit, moving on from the Ingram era. Let's go get Jamal Williams. And so they get a guy that had rushed for 1,000 yards and 17 touchdowns, and over the course of 2 seasons, he ran for 470 yards and 2 touchdowns in 2 seasons. And you look at Jamal Williams' career, and the Saints did not get an outlier. The Saints got what it has always been. I'll go through Jamal Williams' early NFL career. He started with Green Bay. Here are his rushing touchdowns per season. 4, 3, 1, 2, 3. Got it? 4, 3, 1, 2, 3. Then he comes to New Orleans. 1, 1. I skipped over the 17. So if you're going to do it in order for his entire career, 4, 3, 1, 2, 3, 17, 1, 1. Then you look at yardage. 556, 464, 460, 505, 601. He's always right there for 5 years between 460 and 601. That's 150 yards. He's always right there. And for the Saints, 306 and 164. Like a dip at the end, but then you've got the outlier, 1,066 yards. The Saints bought high on a guy that was playing running back at 27 years old, and over the course of 2 seasons, it just did not work at all. The only contribution Jamal Williams actually made to the Saints was scoring that touchdown against Atlanta, creating the storm that happened with the players and the apology by Dennis Allen, and they didn't like that, and maybe that forced a wedge into the clubhouse and got Dennis Allen out of town. But outside of that, not really any production. This move is a very easy one to make. It saves you a little bit of cash, not a lot, but he's a 30-year-old running back. You just signed Kamara to a 2-year deal. Kendre Miller is still here. Who knows if he can play or not. And you've probably got to dip into the draft or undrafted free agency and find somebody else that can help. The Saints, over the course of their time, have done a good job at identifying some guys who weren't household names who became really solid backs. None more than Pierre Thomas, of course, you're all aware of him. But like Chris Ivory wasn't a guy that was high on everybody's boards, and the Saints brought him in as a solid reserve who gave them steady and dependable carries for multiple seasons. And they got to find another one of those. You hope Kendre Miller emerges as a real breakout guy. I don't have a lot of optimism in that. You hope Alvin Kamara can maintain a solid level of play as the tread on the tire starts to wear off a little bit, and he's taking a lot of shots at an old age for a running back, but you got him under contract for 2 more years. You got to go get another one, and that's easy to do. Running backs are a dime a dozen. You can find a lot of 6'1", 225-pound dudes who know how to carry the football. You can't find Saquon Barkley on any tree. You can't find Christian McCaffrey just anywhere. Derrick Henry is not plentiful, but you can find reserve running backs that can help. And if they're a little bit cheaper than Jamal Williams, so be it. But this is a situation where this was not a misguided sign. It was not a terrible investment. It just didn't work. You thought that once he got a chance in Detroit, he had matured physically and was a pro in the league. He runs for 1,000 yards. The Lions decide now we're going to go with the guys we got, who are, by the way, pretty damn talented. And the Saints brought in Jamal Williams, and it just flat did not work at all. So this was an obvious move. They've got to add somewhere at running back, but you don't lose anything here with this. They've got to do a lot more in terms of getting the salary cap to be compliant. This is a small step in the right direction, but really, hopefully opening the door, best case scenario, for a young signee that you bring in, whether that's late in the draft or in the undrafted free agent process, that comes in, turns some heads in camp, and can play for you for 3, 4, 5 years on a really cheap deal. Jamal Williams can't do that. Can't play on a really cheap deal and can't play 3 or 4 more years. He's 30. So this is a situation where Jamal Williams isn't bringing a lot to the locker room. He's not bringing you anything in terms of production. No, he's not saving you a ton of money, but it's easy to move on from and try to open that slot for a younger, less expensive player that may be able to help you for a longer time. I don't see that as the case with Tyrann Mathieu. I think he does bring some benefits. 1, he actually starts, and 2, he's a great locker room guy. If you had 2 guys waiting in the wings there that were cheap that you wanted to get a look at, maybe I could see that with Tyrann Mathieu, but earlier in the week I told you I wouldn't do that. This was obvious. You need to get rid of Jamal Williams and move forward. The Saints have done that, so now they'll be in the market for another running back or 2 here in the coming months. Always remind you, if you're looking for our Saints content, find it Hunt on Saints wherever you find your podcasts. You can subscribe to those anywhere. Of course, you can catch them on YouTube as well. We'll step aside here after a busy hour number 1, and we got a lot to do in hour number 2. Matthew Bruni with us talking basketball in 5 minutes. My SEC baseball power rankings coming up as well. Don't go anywhere. Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com is that website. It's that time of year we love to spend time outdoors, almost pool time, certainly time to boil some crawfish out there. Just enjoy some of the weather that we've got in the backyard with the kiddos. If you've got an outdoor kitchen, swimming pool, just a back porch that you like to sit on, and you don't have sound capabilities or video capabilities out there, but you'd like to look into that, Audio Video Security Solutions can help you with all of it. Give Mitchell Fisher a call. I got his cell phone number right here. Give him a call. Say, hey, the Hunt Palmer Show sent me your number. I'd just love to talk about what we can do in my outdoor area. Mitchell's cell is 225-439-7920. Again, 225-439-7920. Give him a call and start that process. It's been a hit for the Palmer family. We love the installation, have loved the customer service after that installation. Check them out online at avssla.com. They're on Instagram at avss_BR. Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment.
Dave's back on.
Coors Light. Choose chill.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high efficiency.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Breaking news. The Raiders making pass rusher Max Crosby the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history, signing him to a 3-year, $106 million extension, $91 million guaranteed, reports ESPN's Adam Schefter. The Eagles re-signing linebacker Zach Bond, 3 years, $51 million, $34 million guaranteed. Seahawks receiver DK Metcalf wants a one-way ticket out of Seattle, made the trade request after a series of conversations the past 2 weeks. He's set to make $18 million this year, final year of his current deal, about half of what Minnesota's Justin Jefferson at the top of the receiver market will make. ESPN NFL insider Dan Graziano.
It's still possible Seattle could end up fixing this with a contract extension along the lines of what DK Metcalf wants. But if not, he becomes an extremely intriguing addition to the wide receiver market that's already lost T. Higgins to a franchise tag and doesn't have a whole lot else on it in terms of guys DK Metcalf's age and ability.
Cowboys restructured quarterback Dak Prescott's contract and created over $36 million in salary cap space.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Kennedy. Coming up Thursday, our NFL insiders projected how they think free agency will play out. I'll tell you where they got it right and where they got it wrong. It's on Sports for like 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2. Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Half the work week theoretically in the rearview mirror if you've been working the entire week, which a lot of you probably have, but plenty of you not working at the beginning of this week. So it should feel better that you've only been at work for half a day and we're getting a little bit closer to the weekend. Officially working towards that weekend here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. And thank you all for hanging out with us. Preview LSU baseball against North Dakota State tonight, plus a look back at what we saw last night in just a crazy game at Alex Box Stadium. My SEC baseball power rankings also coming up at 2:30, so we'll get to that 30 minutes from right now. LSU goes to Rupp Arena last night, and it just got absolutely whitewashed from the jump. I mean, just really not competitive start to finish. Kentucky, we told you yesterday, is really good offensively. They run great sets. They've been extremely efficient on offense, even without Jackson Robinson. And that was going to be a handful for LSU, and the Tigers could not match them. And then offensively, LSU wasn't very good either outside of some early Cam Carter threes. And Kentucky just was never even threatened in the game up at Rupp. So we'll talk about it with Matthew Bruni, who covers the basketball squad, among other things, for the Bengal Tiger, part of the On3 crew, and he joins us now as he does every Wednesday. Matthew, how are you?
Hey, Hunt, doing well. Just, another day covering LSU.
So let's talk about, we're going to do a little bit of this, I guess, over the next week and a half. But, I watched this team in the pre-conference, and I didn't think they were a threat to win the SEC. But I looked at them, and I watched them beat Florida State and go to Kansas State and dominate that game and play a great second half against UCF. And they didn't step on any landmines against the really bad teams on their schedule. And I was thinking, this team is decent. And you're going to look up at 3-15 with some blowout losses. What do I make of that?
I still think this team is decent. I still think they're I obviously the record is the record, and fans have every right to be upset at it. And it's definitely not where you want to be. But nothing has surprised me to this point. We all knew with the limitations of the roster, especially without Ward and Reed, that it would be an uphill climb in this SEC. And now, the past couple games are without Corey Chess, Victoria Miller gets hurt, and I just didn't think they had a shot against Kentucky with their three-point shooting and their offensive ability. So nothing's changed for me. I still think if they played Kansas State if they played that game again, it wasn't a fluke. I think they're better than Kansas State. I think they're, better than UCF. These teams that are being competitive in other conferences, Florida State, so on, in terms of the middle of the pack. So I think nothing's really changed for me. It's just they can't beat these top-end SEC teams that are in the top 25.
I don't mean to be like overly critical when I ask some of these questions, and I feel like we're just kind of discussing the team that we cover here. But like, I'm watching Curtis Givens, and he's not turning the ball over, but like, I don't see any playmaking either. Is that what you see when you watch him out on the floor?
Yeah, Givens has definitely been the least spectacular of the three freshmen. I'd say to this point, I think physically he's there. He's 6'3", and he can really extend. I think defensively is a lot of his hope, but offensively he just does not have that playmaking ability that you need at that point guard spot. And then the shooting hasn't been where he wants to be at. So definitely, I think he has a ways to go. When he comes back, I don't know in terms of anybody coming back,
right.
But just like if he comes back, he's still not probably an SEC starting point guard that you look for and say, all right, that guy's going to lead us to the top half of the conference.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, and because we don't know who is going to be on next year's team, it's like not even that worthwhile to talk about it at length. So they've got one more regular season game. A&M's coming off a monster win last night on Senior Day. They hung Wade Taylor's name in the rafters. Any chance that LSU gets a sleepy Texas A&M team on Saturday in the PMAC?
Maybe. A&M had lost 4 straight games before that went over Auburn, and I think Auburn, it was an obvious letdown spot for Auburn. So I wasn't really surprised that A&M got that win, like you said, on Senior Day. There is a chance for a letdown on the road right before the SEC tournament. Without Victorious and Corey, they just have 8 players, and they're not good enough. Like, they're not even close to good enough without those 2 especially. So you go into it with the starting 5, and I think the 3 on the bench are Mike Williams, Derek Fountain, Jordan Sears. I mean, this is very dire spot here for LSU. I struggle to see them being able to keep A&M off the glass, and they're going to have to outscore them.
Just kind of hard for me, honestly, to have seen this type of implosion coming around Christmas time. I really thought this team was gonna put up a fight, and it just didn't necessarily happen for a lot of reasons, as you mentioned, the league being as good as it is, the injuries, and then some very poor play as well. So we'll kind of put that in the rearview mirror. The women head to the SEC tournament this week. They'll play on Friday night in Greenville. No Flau'jae Johnson this week for LSU. Is there anything to be gained from the 1, 2, or 3 games that they play in the SEC tournament, or are all eyes on the NCAA tournament at this point?
Well, for the team, there's nothing to gain. The team isn't, I don't think, and Kim Mulkey has never looked at these conference tournaments as being worthwhile.
Yeah.
That's why Flau'jae is not playing it, even though I think she could. If this was the NCAA tournament, she'd be out there. But I do think there is something to if they have to beat Alabama if they play them in the 3-6 game, and if they do that, then they'll have a better chance at a 2. If they lose it, I think they could slip down to a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament, which the difference between a 2 and 3 might not seem like it's huge, but it matters. It matters when you're not having to play a top team right on in the Sweet 16. Maybe you can play a lower 3 seed or something instead. Those kind of margins matter to me. So I would be trying to win that first game at least. But, Kim Mulkey is just trying to get everyone healthy and get everybody to the NCAA tournament.
What do you think is probably going to be the flaw that gets them in the NCAA tournament, assuming that happens?
I think the easy thing is the point guard play. I think we've seen consistently in these losses, especially the South Carolina loss, the Texas loss, and the Ole Miss loss, the ball pressure that those teams have had and their ability to take LSU out of their offense has been the difference in those games. And you just don't have high enough point guard play to get them going. You've seen a lot of Michaela Williams initiating the offense, which is good, but it's not where Kim Mulkey wants to be in terms of having to rely on her so much to do all the work here. So we'll see. Once Flau'jae gets back, I think, we know what to expect in terms of how teams are going to attack them, especially defensively. And I think that's probably the biggest thing is the point guard spot.
Are they in a group that can win the whole thing, or are they probably on the outside looking in with some of the teams that have been more consistent?
They're on the fringes. If you asked me a week ago, I'd say they were in that group. It's hard for me to definitively say that with the question marks that they have at point guard. I think center is still a question. That's just the limited depth they have. There is definitely a draw that they could have where if they win their Sweet 16 game, and I wouldn't be shocked if any one seed got upset this year. South Carolina, UConn, and UCLA, any of them can be upset. So it feels a lot more like the men's tournament this year compared to years past where, you just get all the one seeds rolling in. This definitely feels like a year where it wouldn't shock me where a 2 or 3 seed made a run at it.
He's Matthew Bruni. If you're looking for your LSU team coverage, you can find it at the Bengal Tiger, part of the On3 family. He, Shea Dixon, do a killer job over there, and we appreciate his time every single Wednesday. Matt, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Matthew Bruni from the Bengal Tiger On3. I'll be pretty candid with you. This 2 months of basketball has really bummed me out, and I know that a lot of y'all pretty swiftly can move on from football, put basketball in the rearview mirror after that 6th straight SEC loss and just lock in on baseball. And y'all know how I feel about baseball, but I'm watching some of these SEC basketball games when I get a chance to, and it's so competitive and it's so much fun to watch. And you look at the bracketologies and you see some of these teams, and even Kentucky and A&M fans, and their teams are hovering around 500 in the league, but they feel like they're right there in the thick. They feel like they can make a push because that's how good the league is. And for LSU to just be standing on the sideline watching this, it bums me out.
Yeah, it's not fun when you go into almost every game and you just think that there's not much of a chance LSU is going to win this game. And that's just not an enjoyable experience. And we talked about before with how, players, college kids, high school kids, they're all resilient. They're not gonna go into the game and not try. And that's the hard part, man. Is even for me, even though they've only won 3 games, I go and start watching these games and just think maybe they have a chance, and then they just end up. It's just the same thing happens.
That attitude didn't last very long last night.
No, it didn't.
Oh my
Not.
goodness! I mean, you just look up in Kentucky. I wrote this in my story at LouisianaSports.net. And I don't even remember the number. I'll pull it up as I'm talking through it. But essentially, Kentucky got to the rim an astounding amount in the game last night. Let's see. It was 6 dunks and 13 layups. They got 19 rim makes in 40 minutes. That's about 1 every 2 minutes they're finishing at the rim. That's... Come on, man. It's just that's just can't happen.
Yeah, no, it's the beginning of the game. LSU makes the first basket, they up 2-0, and then Kentucky goes on a 15-0 run in 4 minutes. And it's just okay, yep, this is what's going to happen.
And look, Kentucky's really good on offense. They scored 106 on Florida. They scored 95 on Mississippi State. They scored 81 on a tough Texas A&M defense. But it's just they scored 50 in the first half. That whole thing is a bummer to me. And trust me, I'm locked in on this baseball, and I'm about to talk baseball in 4 minutes from right now, and I'm excited to watch them play again tonight against North Dakota State. That's how sick I am. But it still bums me out to watch the basketball team even go 3-15. And I realize that there are so many LSU fans that are whatever, who cares? But it bums me out. Just very, very, very candidly for you. All right, let's talk some baseball next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111, your law firm for a lifetime.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right, LSU and North Dakota State tonight from the box, 6:30 first pitch. Before we get to that, let's go back to what we saw last night. It's just not your standard issue baseball game. North Dakota State came in at 1-10. Sorry, 1-9. They're 1-9 on the season, and their team ERA was like 11. And you figure LSU will just pound out 10 or 12 runs, and North Dakota State, who, oh, by the way, has a bunch of guys hitting about 215, 220 in their lineup, won't necessarily do very much, and you'll get on down the road with the win. What happened was Connor Ware took the baseball for LSU, and he didn't have it. The second batter of the game, he struck out. Kade Arambidi couldn't block it up. Ended up getting the runner down to first base. Couple of hits, including a triple that Chris Stanfield couldn't quite catch. Then you got wild pitches, more walks, and all of a sudden, North Dakota State's put up a 3 spot in the first inning that could have been worse. Then Ware settles in, and he strikes out 2 of the next 3 in the second inning, and you feel like he's got it between the buoys, and he comes out in the third and can't throw it over the plate again. He gets behind everybody. Now you're dropping pop-ups that are in foul territory that no one's calling. I mean, LSU made a comedy of errors in the first 3 innings of this game. You got the walks, you got the wild pitches, you got the hit batsman. LSU hit 4 guys, not in the first 3 innings, but in the game. You've got a catcher that's not able to block pitches up. You've got guys not communicating on foul pop-ups. You've got a double play ball that you throw into the dugout. Like, it was just awful from jump. And you look up, and after 4 innings, 3.5, I should say, you're down 9-5. And sometimes you just have to admit that, like, this is going to happen in a 56-game schedule. And in the big picture, I'm just glad it happened against the team that we knew LSU was going to score 11 runs against, and the Tigers came back and won the game. Because that was going to be a quad 4 loss. Jay Johnson has said repeatedly that he thinks this team's going to win a bunch of games, and they might. Like, I don't know. But they certainly aren't winning them right now, and they're digging themselves quite a hole to be a team that has a reasonable RPI. Like, they look to me like they're going to be a quad 4 team. They're 1-10. I know they've been down south, and they played DBU and Alabama and LSU, and that's tough. Maybe they will win a ton of games. I just don't see it right now. But it was going to be a quad 4 loss, and LSU dug their way out of it. So what can you pull from this that is genuinely concerning? It's just a 9-inning baseball game out of a 56-game schedule. What can you legitimately pull from it? Well, the first thing that everyone that's watching the game can see, and this is something that I talked about just a lot in January and early February. I talked about this a lot. LSU defensively at catcher was going to have to figure some things out. Because Luis Hernandez didn't catch last year, and Kade Arambidi's coming from high school, and Eddie Yaman didn't really catch last year, and Blaise Priester is not a great defensive catcher. He's a powerful hitter. And it was evident to me, just based on profile and based on scrimmages, that LSU was going to have some trouble, potentially, behind the plate defensively. And right now, Kade Arambidi's just going through it. And I'll tell you this. I think he is as toolsy a catching prospect as LSU has had in a very, very long time. I think he's got more raw tools and ability than Michael Papierski did. I think he runs better. I think he's quicker. I think he's got every bit the arm. He's not a switch hitter, but I think he's every bit as toolsy as Papierski was, maybe more. And you start to think about the other guys, Milazzo, Travinsky, Neal, Tyler McManus. And then you go back even further and you get back into the days of, Hunter Fiducia's in the big leagues now, but he wasn't a great catcher at LSU. Ty Ross was slow-footed and didn't have much power and didn't hit for a high average. Like, he's as toolsy a catcher prospect as LSU's had in some time. And the fact of the matter is that he was catching guys in high school. I didn't go to his high school games, but I'm assuming his high school staff wasn't throwing 96. That's my guess. I'm assuming his high school staff was throwing 86 with the loopy breaking ball. Catching that, as opposed to catching this, different worlds. But there's nothing that he doesn't possess physically that you need to be a quality defensive catcher. He's got quicks. He's got an arm. He's got to do a better job fundamentally of getting in front of the baseball and deadening it. He tries too often to pick it with the backhand, and he's still not quite adept at corralling the ball and getting and squaring it up and knocking it down in front of him. And the ball skips away too often. But the only way you're going to get better at that is to play. And right now, LSU can make up for it. But against Arkansas and Tennessee, you can't. So right now, Luis Hernandez is very much the number one catcher. He had to come into this game in the 5th inning and play the rest of the way to try to give LSU a little bit of defense. But Jay Johnson's not going to give up with Arambidi. By the way, he launched a home run in the left field seats last night as well. I think he's going to be a really good catcher at LSU. Right now, he's not a very good defensive catcher. And that position demands it. Because you can hide a bad defender in left field. You can essentially hide a bad defender at first base. You can't hide a bad defensive catcher. They have to block the ball a dozen times a game. If you do that at a 50% clip, it's a merry-go-round. So that is a concern. Connor Ware, not a concern right now to me. He couldn't find his command. He got the strike. Look, you look at the line score. He struck out 5 in 2 innings. So there was some stuff in there. He just couldn't throw for strikes. Into the game, 59 pitches he had thrown and only landed. Where's the strikes? I see every other pitcher on here. Except there he is. Okay, 59 pitches, 35 strikes. That's not good enough. And he still got, and his fastball velocity was down a little bit. I mean, he threw a pickoff throwaway, for goodness. It just wasn't his day. And I still believe in him as a bullpen piece on the weekends. I still believe that he's got a lot to offer this team. I believe he did not have his stuff yesterday, and that just happens sometimes. So I'm not as concerned about that. Really, the only chief concern I have in this game was defense behind the plate. And you've got to keep working with Aaron Beatty and make sure his fundamentals are better and keep running him out there and let him play. And if it needs to be just on Tuesdays, that's fine. If it needs to be once you've got an 8-run lead this coming Saturday, fine. Get him out there. Plus, rest Hernandez's legs because you're going to have to play him some. And look, Hernandez came into the game and struck out all 3 times he came up there. So you've got issues at catcher right now. Hernandez did have 3 hits in the game on Sunday. He did hit 23 home runs last year. I think he can be a fine offensive player. I don't think he's going to hit 300. I don't think he's going to hit 15 home runs. But if you can get 270 and 6 or 7 home runs out of Hernandez, great. That's the only thing from yesterday, even though it was just an awful first 5 innings for LSU, that I would honestly take from the game and feel like you gotta give a closer look to. I love the way Daniel Dickinson continues to swing the bat against this bad pitching. 3 for 4, launched a home run, also laid down a drag bunt. I thought that was great. Stephen Milam comes through twice in huge spots. One got a little bit fortunate, reached out and poked one into center field for the tying hit, and then he didn't get cheated at all on a missile down the right field line on the game-winning hit with the bases loaded. That was really good to see. Derek Curiel had a leadoff spot on base 3 more times. Jared Jones not extending himself, even in a spot where LSU is losing by a handful of runs against a bad team, and there could be pressure for him, the most powerful bat in the lineup, to step up and drive one out of the ballpark at any point to try to get LSU closer in a hurry. He still draws 3 walks. I love that. Got a hit, scored 3 times. The top 3 guys in your lineup, Curiel, Jones, and Dickinson, combined to score 8 runs. Love that. Jake Brown scored 2. Thought that was good as well. And then out of the bullpen, it was great to see Chandler Dorsey come in and get 2 innings worth of outs. Jay Johnson was very honest when asked about Chandler Dorsey in the postgame. He said, look, this guy's been facing LSU since October, and it hasn't gone very well. But he's kept working, and he hasn't complained that he hadn't gotten in the game for 2.5 weeks. He had his chance to get in the game. He did his job. That's a good thing to see for him. Zach Cowan continues to eat up outs as a long reliever, 2 2/3 innings of shutout baseball with 3 strikeouts last night. And then Kason Evans comes in and does what Kason Evans does, slams the door, 2 strikeouts in a scoreless ninth to earn his 3rd save of the season. Evans did have a little bit of a scary moment in the game where he slipped off the rubber in mid-windup, ended up not delivering the pitch and was called for a balk, but seemed like he was okay. Got the guy out on a ground ball within a couple pitches and seemed to be okay. So you look at LSU tonight against North Dakota State, you still ought to score a bajillion runs because these guys can't pitch at all. But what does LSU do on the mound? I'm assuming William Schmidt will start. I think you'll see Maverick Rizzi in this game as well. Jacob Myers is a guy that I would expect to see for more than 1 inning in the game tonight. Maybe Cooper Williams can get back on the horse and pitch. I would like to turn this game, if we're being honest, into a very low-leverage spot for a lot of guys to get some work on the mound and then some other guys to get some work at the box. So if William Schmidt can come out for 4 innings and go nuts, have at it. This is the last midweek that I want to see starters cranking it up to 75, 80 pitches. I don't want to burn Connor Ware and or William Schmidt on Tuesdays moving forward with an SEC weekend looming. I'd rather see those guys available on the weekend. Still don't expect to see Gavin Guidry in this game, but I think the guys I listed could be options here. It'll start with William Schmidt, we very much think, and hopefully he can continue to build on the really good start that he's had. He was great in the 1 inning that he pitched on Saturday. Hopefully a little bit more of an extended outing in this game, and he's as good as he has been really all year. So that game can be heard on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. You can catch that pregame at 6 o'clock. First pitch from the box at 6:30 between the Tigers and the Bison. I'll have a post-game story up at louisianasports.net. All right, let's step aside. When we come back, SEC Baseball Power Rankings on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. Every car that is on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. And part of the perks of being a Genesis driver. 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. 3 years, complimentary maintenance. 3 years, complimentary maintenance. And that maintenance can be valet, meaning they want you to have a convenient experience. They come to you, they drop you off a loaner. So you get on with your day, keep moving. You don't have to halt everything while your car is being serviced. They bring your vehicle to the dealership right there, Airline at Piku, across from Women's Hospital. They handle the maintenance. They drive the vehicle back to you. You're back on your way. That's how convenient being a Genesis driver is. If you have not gotten behind the wheel, have not given Genesis a shot, I highly recommend you do it. It's a luxury vehicle at a reasonable price. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. Find them Airline at Piku or online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Genesisofbatonrouge.com.
You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe. My whole team on wild.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111, your law firm for a lifetime.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
When it comes to choosing energy for your family and your home, make the smart choice with natural gas. You can count on efficient and affordable natural gas to keep you comfortable and reduce your environmental impact to help protect our planet. Together, we're fueling our energy future. Atmos Energy.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
One more weekend of non-conference baseball ahead of us. For LSU, it'll be North Alabama at the Box. Then it is time to get into the 30-game grind that is the Southeastern Conference. It'll start for LSU against Missouri, but it's going to be a slog for 30 games as it always is. Hopefully, Tigers get off to a little bit better start this year than they did last year. I'll tell you what I think about the Southeastern Conference coming up right now in our SEC Baseball Power Rankings.
Hunt's SEC Power Rankings. The Tennessee Volunteers.
I still got the Vols up top. Their ace looks every bit the piece of an ace. Liam Doyle's been sensational. They've got 8 grand slams on the year this year. That's not a typo. 8 grand slams. They've got more grand slams than some teams in college baseball have home runs to this point. That's just kind of the way that Tony V has shaped this offense. And look, it's not elite competition they're facing, but they did go to Houston and take care of business for 3 days. So I think this is the best team in the country right now. I got Tennessee at number 1.
The Florida Gators.
I still got Florida at number 2 here. Brody Donay was really good over the weekend, hit a big home run against the Miami Hurricanes. They took 2 out of 3 in that series in Gainesville. Kevin O'Sullivan owns Miami's baseball program. I think it's a talented team. I like Kobe Shelton. I like Liam Peterson at the top of the rotation. I got a good look at their Sunday guy who was really good for 3 innings, and then it kind of fell apart for him there. But the stuff was really good. I think Florida is a really good team to be reckoned with. I've got them at number 2.
The LSU Tigers.
I just didn't love LSU's pitching over the weekend. I do love it on its face. I think that the depth of the staff is going to be awesome when they can move Ware and Schmidt and Guidry into the bullpen, which they're kind of not right now. I will really like that. But I have some concerns there, and I need Kate Anderson to do something in the 6th inning. So I think LSU's really good. I think they're a top 8 team in the country right now, maybe top 6 team in the country right now. But I would put them just a tick behind Florida and a couple ticks behind Tennessee in the number 3 spot in the Southeastern Conference.
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
So this is kind of a reputation play by me. Gabe Gackle is their Friday guy who's going to be really good. He was a freshman All-American consensus last year. He got crushed by Charlotte over the weekend. 3 innings, 10 hits, 9 earned runs. And he's only got 5 strikeouts over the last 2 outings. I just think he's going to be better than that. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I think he's going to be better than that. They got Root in the 2nd spot there, and the Eloy brothers are just sensational. Just hit a walk-off grand slam within the last 30 minutes up there in Fayetteville. So Arkansas's got some questions, but I like their coach. I like their general roster makeup, and I think their pitching is going to be better than it was the last 2 weeks.
The Georgia Bulldogs.
Wes Johnson's got a good team right now. They're playing well. They have not stepped up massively in competition, but he's overhauled the pitching staff, and you had to figure that was going to happen, and they're hitting enough, so I'll take Georgia at number 5.
The Alabama Crimson Tide.
Alabama's 13-0. They swept Jacksonville, the city, 2 weeks ago. That included Coastal Carolina, NC State, and Ohio State. Justin LeBron is, as I talked about last week, the best player in the conference right now. He's got 8 home runs. Their 1-2 punch at the top of the rotation is very talented. Riley Quick and Zane Adams. That's probably going to be the barometer for what this Alabama team is, because they are hitting it pretty well. But do they have a 1-2 punch that can stand up to the top teams in the conference? I may have Alabama too high here, but I've got them at 6.
Texas A&M!
I don't know what to do with them right now. I don't think they're 10th. I don't think they're 2nd.
Okay, but Hunt, we're like...
I'm telling you what I think they're going to be in league play,
okay,
not what they've done to this point.
What's the point of the power? I thought the point of the power rankings is where they're ranked right now.
Anybody can tell you what the standings are right now. I'm telling you what I think the team is and what it will be this year.
Okay.
That's what I'm telling you what I'm doing. I'm not taking the exact standings and ranking teams. I'm just going, I think this is the 7th best team in the league right now. There are concerns. After Prager in the rotation, bullpen, they're not hitting worth a flip. Laviolette's striking out like crazy. It's been bad. Grahovic's out. I don't know if Early can coach at all. I can tell you 20 reasons why they're the 13th best team in the league, but I think they're more talented than that. I've got them at 7.
The Oklahoma Sooners.
They're 11-1. They did get run ruled by Dallas Baptist last night, so probably not good for LSU, even though that is an LSU opponent. LSU plays Oklahoma 3 times, so we'll see. But I like the top of their rotation with the 2 Witherspoon brothers. We'll see what Cam Johnson is. He had his best outing over the weekend, and they're pitting a little bit. So I think Oklahoma's middle of the pack. I got them at 8.
The Texas Longhorns.
Horns have won 10 straight. Listen to these run totals in Las Vegas. They beat Washington, Texas Tech, and Illinois. They scored 35 runs in 3 games, and all 3 times they went into double figures. They're going to hit. The question is, can they pitch? That's Jim Schlossnagel's job, Max Wiener's job. I think they'll get something out of this staff. It's not elite. They don't have any first-round picks, but I think they're going to pitch enough with those bats to be decent. I've got them at 9.
The Vanderbilt Commodores.
Vandy lost 2 over the weekend to Southern Cal and UConn. They scored 3 total runs in those 2 games. Vanderbilt is not as talented as they had been for a decade. The NIL thing and the transfer portal thing has hurt Tim Corbin's program. That's evident right now. They're 10th.
The Ole Miss Rebels.
Hunter Elliott for Ole Miss has really got it going. 16 innings, just 6 hits, no runs, 20 strikeouts this year in 3 starts. He looks like an ace. That's the guy we saw 3 years ago in Omaha carry them in part to a national championship. So that's a positive for them. Offensively, they may be mediocre. We'll see. But they got a good front end of the rotation guy, and that's a good place to start. So I got Ole Miss at 11.
The Auburn Tigers.
They had Sam Dutton going on Friday this week. Cade Fisher's a little bit banged up. They're hitting more than I thought, and they've got 2 great bats in McMurray and Irish, which I tell you about every single week. So I've got Auburn up a few spots to number 12. I think I had them at 15 last week. Still don't love Auburn, but they're better than I thought.
The Kentucky Wildcats.
I still don't believe in Kentucky. I don't think they have the talent.
You never believe in Kentucky.
I know. I didn't last year, and they got to Omaha, but that was the first time they had, and I just don't think the way they play is sustainable. So I got Kentucky down at 13. That's kind of where I'll have them until they do something significant in league play.
The Mississippi State Bulldogs.
Their Friday guy, Pico Cohn, has been exceptional. Everything else has been just okay. They played a really good schedule. They played Southern Miss, who's ranked. They played Troy, who's ranked. They played Arizona, who's ranked. They played Oklahoma State, who's ranked. All those are good teams to play. They didn't beat any of them. That's the problem. They lost every game. They benched Hunter Hines over the weekend. He's supposed to be their best power hitter. I do like Ace Reese. He's hit the ball a ton. I watched a lot of him over the weekend. But Mississippi State, you got to beat somebody. They're not beating anybody. Got them down at 14.
The South Carolina Gamecocks.
Welcome back to reality for Paul Maneri's Gamecocks over the weekend. They were undefeated going in. They now have 3 losses. Clemson got after them in Clemson, in Columbia, and in Greenville, I think it was. They lost all 3 games to Clemson. That'll sting, and I think South Carolina's in for a rude 30-game SEC run. They don't have the horses.
The Missouri Tigers.
And Missouri's in a league all themselves. They're just awful. And I don't need to break that down anymore. They don't hit. They don't play defense. They don't pitch. That's about all you need to know about Missouri. Those are your SEC baseball power rankings. Tennessee, Florida, LSU, 1, 2, 3. Arkansas, Georgia, and Alabama, 4, 5, 6. A&M slides down to number 7 after a bad weekend. Oklahoma and Texas, the newbies, they're at 8 and 9. Vanderbilt at 10. Ole Miss at 11. Auburn and Kentucky at 12 and 13. Number 14 is Mississippi State. Number 15, South Carolina. Number 16 is Missouri. Am I being mean to Missouri back?
No, you're not. They're terrible.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you saying that.
I think...
You got mad at me for yelling at Vanderbilt.
Well, yeah. You're always mean to Vanderbilt for no reason, and you're also very mean to Kentucky in baseball for no apparent reason.
Yeah, there's a reason for that.
Well, why?
I hate their coach.
Oh, yes, right. Of course. I don't know how I could forget.
Don't forget that.
You hold a grudge against their coach, and that for that
12
reason,
years, yes.
For that reason, even you will not actually.
I don't believe in that style
talent.
of play. I don't believe you can have a bunch of pitchers who throw sinkers and a bunch of hitters who bunt and steal and win it in this era of college baseball.
Okay, they almost did last year.
Got to Omaha.
Yes, they did. LSU? No,
did not.
All right, so they can be done. They can be done.
By the way, I wanted to say, as I was prepping Missouri talk there, I didn't even go and look at what Missouri did over the weekend because I didn't find it relevant. I was just going to put them at 16, so I just looked it up. They played Evansville on Friday and lost. They played Evansville in a doubleheader on Saturday and swept it. They played Evansville on Sunday and lost. So they split 4 games.
They're 6-6
with Evansville. They are 6-6. Their next action is against Binghamton this weekend, and then they'll head to Baton Rouge. So
shout out to the ULM Warhawks taking on Arkansas right now. That game just got underway.
Okay, so that was not the one that they continued from last night, where apparently they slept all night.
No, they postponed it.
Yeah,
but
and then Aloy hit a grand slam 2 minutes after they resumed to run rule the opponent. So it came back 3 minutes of action in that Tuesday game, and it was over. The Aloy brothers bash. They are crushing the ball for Arkansas, and they're really the only Razorbacks who are hitting it all. So, but I still think they're going to figure it out. I don't think Gabe Gackle's going to be as bad as he's been the last 2 weeks for the entirety of the season, but remains to be seen. All right, those are your SEC baseball power rankings. We'll step aside, take a timeout, come back and close it out on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Closet space can be a big, big deal. And you may have the space, you just don't know how to use it efficiently. You may not have the space. Either way, David Duvall and his team can help you with it. If you do have the space and you just feel like there's a lot of clutter, he can come in and just improvise a little bit. They can put in some different drawers, cubbies, mirrors. They can do some racks and help you maneuver some things to use that space a little bit more efficiently and fit everything where it needs to go. If you'd like to just add some space, David Vaughn and his team are happy to do it. They've often taken stand-in showers out, put in a closet in that spot to put additional space in, and then do a tub-to-shower conversion so you still have the shower where the tub was, where the shower was, you've got a closet. These are the types of things that not everyone can do because they don't all specialize in bathrooms and closets. David Vaughn and his team do. If you're looking for some sort of creative solution like that, go to onebathandclosets.com and request that free consultation today. It doesn't cost you anything to sit down with David Vaughn and his team and just go through things. And if you get to the point where you're going to go through with the project, they've got financing that's available. Same as cash, 0%, 18 months if you qualify. Start the process today at onebathandclosets.com. Onebathandclosets.com.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you. At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Join us at the Louisiana Outdoor Expo at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center March 14th through the 16th, just a few weeks from now. Head over to the front or back booth and register for your chance to win a U10 new canoe, a compact, versatile kayak perfect for fishing and hunting adventures. Visit 1045ESPN.com for details. Also, we've got the Pels here on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge. They will host the Rockets tomorrow night at 7, then travel to face the Rockets on Saturday at 6. and then return home to host the Grizz Sunday at 6 p.m. Pelicans coverage is brought to you locally by Industry Makes.
I could tell during my SEC Power Rankings out of my periphery that my bride was at the grocery store, and that can oftentimes be a bit of a disaster. Her decision-making is just not efficient at all. She panics, freaks out, can't decide what to do, and ends up walking out.
No list.
She didn't walk out. So she oftentimes has a list.
And the list just doesn't help. Doesn't matter.
We're kind of going day by day here with groceries because we don't want to stock the house and then leave for 3 days to have a kid. So the kitchen is clean and she doesn't want to clean it anymore, which is understandable. But it's like her main thing in terms of this grocery run is to make sure that we don't buy anything that really dirties the kitchen in terms of cooking it. So I'm seeing these text messages pop up because she's in charge of buying dinner for tomorrow. And I just read them, and it was just a disastrous effort. She ended up buying chicken salad and croissants.
I mean, what's wrong with that?
That's a lunch. That's a cold lunch.
Yeah, it is. But why do we have to why do we have to ascribe to societal norms of what you have to eat for certain?
Because I want something awesome and hot that tastes great. I like chicken salad. But that's like a depressing lunch you eat at your desk.
Well, you can put the croissants in the toaster or heat them up, and then that'll give you a little bit of crunch maybe. And
put some avocado in there, really spice it
up.
Yeah. It was a poor effort. Let's just go ahead and call it what it was. It was a poor effort. She knows it. I know it. Myers will know it. It's a poor effort. That's all there is to it.
Myers is going to know. He's just going to be eating chicken nuggets and mac and cheese.
Never mac and cheese.
Or not mac and cheese. I always forget for some reason.
Chicken and french fries and ketchup.
He's the only child I've ever heard that doesn't like mac and cheese.
That's correct. Chicken, french fries, ketchup, lasagna. We're going to try meatloaf
Baked
tonight.
Ziti, of course.
Baked ziti, of course. I don't think that I don't think it's going to work. We're going to try meatloaf tonight.
Try meatloaf. Okay.
If you come to my desk tomorrow and I'm eating meatloaf, it's because the child wouldn't eat it.
All right.
That's where we are with that. So
I mean, are you really trying to get him to eat different things?
Yes, and he apparently eats everything at school. He went to a soccer stadium, like a soccer game, and the mom had like peanut butter and jelly. He knows if he sits down at that mini table in our kitchen, the chicken, french fries, and ketchup are available in some capacity. Therefore, everything else is unacceptable.
I see.
That's the issue.
Okay.
I don't know how we get over that. But
yeah, that's I don't know. I guess that's how I call it parenting.
Kid needs to grow up.
Yeah.
Get a job. How about a little income?
How old is he?
3, and a little bit.
And you're already on the Grove and get a job train. I see.
He's inconveniencing me. This new baby's inconveniencing me. He's canceling trips. I don't know what's going on.
Well, Hunt, you had a say in these matters. I think.
Kind of.
Okay.
Some say. Less than 50% say.
Wow.
I'm thrilled to have the kids. Incredible kids. Just bad grocery run by mom and poor palate by the other kid. Let's do Take It or Leave It.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
All right, you got some NFL news coming through today. We talked about it a little bit with Jamal Williams. That was a smaller headline. These are a couple of big ones here. The first one, which is Saints related, the Eagles are re-signing Zach Bond, All-Pro Zach Bond, that is.
All-Pro Zach Bond.
First-team All-Pro Zach Bond, to a 3-year, $51 million contract, including $34 million guaranteed at signing. An additional $1.5 million in incentives. The contract instantly makes him one of the highest-paid linebackers in the NFL. The Saints stink. Take it or leave it.
Well, I don't have any choice but to take that. They haven't given me any other option. But great job by the scouting department to hone in on Zach Bond, one of the best players in the league.
It's crazy. I wonder why the scouting department was so high on him and thought he was worthy of a top 3-round pick. However, for some reason, the coaches didn't see it that way.
All-Pro Super Bowl champion Zach Bond. If I'd have told you that 3 years ago, you'd have said, "Wow, that's a nice."
I would have said that.
Nice job of development.
All right, next one. So, like I said, more NFL stuff here. This is probably the biggest. This is definitely the biggest news that's happened. The Raiders have signed Max Crosby to a 3-year, $106 million extension with $91 million guaranteed. Those guarantees haven't gone wrong recently, have they?
No.
Making him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it.
Really?
Max can ride on Mardi Gras floats now. He could probably ride in 3 or 4 crews if he wanted to.
That's true. He probably could own all the crews if he wanted to, really. So you're actually taking this, though.
It's the Raiders. Whatever. They're not going to win anything anyway. I mean, he's really good.
They got to pay somebody. Yeah.
Got to pay somebody. You're not going to pay. Who's their? I don't even know who their quarterback is going into next year.
I have no idea.
They're trying to figure that out.
It was Gardner Minshew, I think, last year.
Surely that's not going to.
No, I wouldn't think so.
Yeah,
Maybe they're
you're
going
not
to
paying
draft
the quarterback
one.
anything. So yeah, pay your defensive end a lot. He's good. He gets a lot of sacks.
That works. All right. How about this? LeBron James, first player with 50,000 points. Of course, he passed Kareem, I think it was a year or two ago, and now he's got 50,000 points in the regular season and playoffs. Lay compiler, take it or leave it.
Let me read this text that our buddy sent in our group text today. Said, you got 20 seconds.
We got a little bit of time here. But
I gotta find it. I can't find it. It was something to the extent of LeBron 50,000 points, pretty impressive. I was like, if that's pretty impressive, no one else has ever done it in the history of the league. So if that's just pretty impressive, then the rest of the history of the association has been a disappointment. Yeah, that's pretty good by LeBron. That's it for us, LSU baseball tonight. We're reacting to it tomorrow. Matt's going to drive you home on AFR. Y'all have a great evening. See you same time, same place for the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance